Hey, this is Shaun with the Atlanta Tennis Podcast, powered by Go Tennis. Check out our calendar of Metro Atlanta tennis events at letsgotennis.com and be sure to register for the Fall Festival. It is coming up. It's less than 2 weeks. It is going to be awesome. Today, 10 minutes of tennis with world-renowned tennis coach, Australian in Puerto Rico. Of course, who knows where he is today? Justin Yeo. Thank you so much for taking the time. Today, we're talking about Dominic Thiem, who has retired. I guess last week he retired and just couldn't take it physically. Justin, is this a warning, or is this just an example of how it usually happens?
Yeah, well, team has also been very, I guess, spoken out about how tough and how grueling the tour is. If you probably just before he even said all that, Alcaraz and Sinner have been saying for quite some time that the tour is a lot tougher and a lot longer and a lot further than it ever has before. Um, so expectations are probably a little too high as well for players. So it is definitely something that Federer has brought up in the past as well, and he joined the player association to try to help protect the players to get them more money at the lower end, that then they could keep their bodies, and we didn't see so many players lose and drop out. And then the other side of it was just how grueling the tour has become. So it has been a big conversation about giving them more of an off season. But I don't think his was necessarily an off season. His was just he was a hard worker. He was really, believed in the work ethic. But I have my questions as a talent development coach from Australia, doing this from seeing ages from 3 or 4 till all the way to pro level. We always say that you got to take care of the hips, the shoulders, the wrist, the knees, and if you don't do a lot of this stuff as a junior because you feel invincible, there's a lot of things can catch up with you. And we've seen DePotro, we've seen David Nalbandian, we've seen some really good players that were peaking and doing really well, but injuries caught up, and it's I actually can't say injuries, just recurring overdone joints that were tweaking a little bit, and then eventually just got to the point where they can't do it anymore, which is where Federer's knee was.
I want to quote from Dominic Thiem. He says, quote, "I think the way we do the sport, it's not healthy. And at one point, one or more of your parts of your body break down." He
Mm-hmm.
says, "You can see it with almost every player. There's no player who comes injury free through their career. That's just the way of professional sport. And in my case, it was the wrist." And this is from, so I quote it properly, The Guardian, I think. And they've done a good article on what he's doing and why he's done.
Mm-hmm.
And in this case, you mentioned Del Potro, wrist as well, and I remember that clearly. But it's the question then is, it's a little bit of a chicken and the egg is probably the wrong example, but is it bad training, or is it just physically, my body couldn't take it and Rogers could? We all wish we had the efficiency that Roger even appeared to have, even though he worked a little bit harder at times than you would have wanted him to. But the efficiency of winning points has got to be tough, because if Thiem wanted to win another major, he needed to stay healthy, and he admits something went wrong somewhere.
Yeah, yeah, and again, we need to learn from it because if we look at the way they played the ball, the way they stroked the ball, um, Federer had like Eastern forehand grip, so he used a ton of wrist. He had a very late lag on Federer's forehand, so you would think, similar to the team, he's going to have some kind of wrist issues. He hit a big one-handed backhand just like Thiem. So what was the difference between him going till 39, almost 40 years of age with a still healthy wrist? It was only his knee that pulled him out.
Yeah.
But coming back to what he was saying, that there's always one injury or one something that recurs. Yeah, he's right. I mean, there's a lot of players that walk on the court sore and injured every single day. I mean, Djokovic, they call him the rubber man, but if you really look at him, he's got a lot of K tape all over him, and it happens a lot. It's just we don't take note to it because they just get out there and they do it every day. Nadal, 2009, 2010. I remember talking to Uncle Tony in 2009, and they were saying if he doesn't stop, if he doesn't slow down, he's going to have all these other long-term injuries, And it was only till this year, 20 years later, or not 20 years, but 15 years later, he's only just hanging up the racket.
Yeah, and you mentioned the fact that the schedule is long, but
Yeah.
it's not like a team sport where you're forced to play when the coach puts you in. These
Mm,
guys can manage their own schedule. And I get
mm,
it. If you want to be number one in the world, you got to get the right number of points. I understand
mm,
that. But if we look at the comments here of the article I happen to be looking at is about him giving it 100%. He was fit. He was a hard worker, and they say he was tireless. He played week after week, rarely after coming up for air. Is that not a red flag right there that you're just not taking the weeks off that you need to?
maybe. I mean, part of the players now, they say close to 30 to 40% of their daily routine is maintenance, and
Mm.
it never used to be that way. It used to be, I don't know, 60, 70% on court, 20% or 30% almost was training, like gym training and doing all the other stuff. And then your bands and all the other stuff were just like, oh man, just let me bend over. Okay, I'm good, ready to go. And then even the warm-ups, like, I mean, back in the days, I've talked to John Newcomb and they used to take a shot of whiskey. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff that you can say, the history of the sport to where it is now. And now it is definitely about a real athlete if you're going to make it in this game. We can't say that there's just talent because you definitely need talent. There's no question. The hand eye is you've got to be invincible in hand eye, but at the same time, physicality and mental is everything now. You've got to be a real pure athlete now. You know.
Well, you need the talent, of course, which talent isn't necessarily something you're born with. You can earn that. You can go out and practice and become talented. You
Yep.
need the genetics. Today, these guys are 6'3", 6'4", and that
Yep.
makes a huge difference. You need the coach and the team and everybody helping you with everything. And in that case, you need all of those things to get to the top, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And just getting there is one thing. Staying there is the next question then. If the guys
Mm-hmm.
that are 21 years old and at the top of the game right now, Sinner and Alcaraz, as you mentioned, if those guys are already complaining about how hard the season is, well, you know what, guys? Take a
Mm-hmm.
week off. You are
Mm-hmm.
independent contractors. Take a
Yeah.
deep breath when you need one and quit your complaining. Like, am I missing something?
Well, you may be because there's a lot of endorsements, there's a lot of agents, there's a lot of other things that you're responsible for, and you feel you're on a roll, so you don't want to stop. Like, I mean, as any tennis player, if you feel good, you want to get back out on the court, and we all still do that. It's I think the big one, as you said, they need to take a breather. They need to take some space. It could be also back in the early days um, where players came up quick and they just didn't have the team around them, and that's where a lot of things came unseen, I guess. And then they come out later when you can't really fix something, that's already done. So yeah, there's a balancing act there. That's why Federer's talking about, it's not a fair playing game for a guy who's 500 or 1,000 in the world. And he's playing up against guys that have a whole team in their booth. And this guy, can barely, I've always said it, it's not easy for a tennis pro to bend over and undo his shoelaces and take his shoes off at the end of the day, you know? Um, Even my wife, I get her to massage my knee because if I lean over to bend my knee, to exercise or massage my hip tightens up and then I'm not loosening up the muscles correctly that need to loosen up around the knee. So you need a team. You need someone to support. You need to help, especially to do that many grueling hours on the court right now. Um, and they hit that ball so much harder than anybody else, you know. So physical is not going to stop. It's going to be about maintenance and then obviously longevity of how much you got the spirit, you know. I mean,
Still got to love it.
yeah, I just don't think we're going to see many like Rafael Nadal for a long time. That guy was just the bull. He was called the bull for a reason, and he went through injuries. He went through taping. He went through taking 6 to 8 to 9 months off, and then coming back and just showing it again over and over and over.
Yes.
So who knows? Team maybe needs to take a year or two off, and maybe he'll do just like Murray and come back again. Uh,
I'd like to see that.
That's sort of the in thing these days. I'm retiring again.
The unretirement. It's coming up. Well, Justin, we will definitely miss Dominic Thiem, but we get to see you again next week. So this has been 10 Minutes of Tennis with Justin Yeo. I appreciate your time. And like I said, we will miss Dominic Thiem, but we always get to see you every week. So thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Good luck, Dominic. Good luck, Dominic. Go get him.
Yeah, we'll see you when you unretire in a few years.
Yeah. Keep it up, buddy.
Thanks, mate. See you later.
See ya.